Everybody, welcome back to Too Many Men. What a day. What a week. What a time. Did I say my name? I'm going to start over. Did I
No,
say
no,
my
no,
name?
no. Keep it going. Keep it going. Keep it
No, no,
going.
no,
Who
no,
are
no.
you? Let's just get it going.
Who is she?
Who is she? That's a secret
That's
I'll
one
never
secret I'll
tell.
never tell. You know you love her.
My name is Alison Lucan, and I am delighted to be joined by the always brilliant, but now more brilliant, more of the time, the entrepreneurial, the incredible business starting, making her own magic, Substacker, Sara Sivian. Sara, I usually ask how you are, but I would like you to tell the people about this new venture of yours, what it's all about, how it's going.
First of all, I want to shout out and thank everybody who has rejected me or told me no in the last few months. There's many people that have done that, and they pushed me to this point to start a Substack, and now I am making more money than I would have. So anyway, thank you everybody for supporting me. It's not about that. Obviously, I am joking. People get it, but I am able to cut the middleman, and I am blown away by how cool Substack is, the resources, and the way they want you to connect with the audience. Because I'm thinking, like, where is the oomph for 60 gone? What did I miss about hockey? Why do I dread it year after year now? Which that's dramatic, but like, I just feel like I'm getting nowhere, spinning my wheels, and it's like, oh, fucking Elon Musk. Like, I am not talking to people on Twitter anymore. It's miserable. There are like smear campaigns. The one that got me really being like, I have to get off of this app is just transvestigating and stuff. Like, it's robotic the way evil people respond to conversations that like people that are just living their lives are trying to have. So I'm like, how can I bring that back? So what my Substack is, it is a weekly newsletter where I'll bring people in and do some interviews. Sometimes it'll be just me doing long form writing about sports, mostly hockey, of course, but sometimes it'll be a special guest. I have one lined up I'm excited about. And then there's a group chat every single night where we just shoot the shit about whatever games are happening. And I man it. I make sure it's like paid subscribers only, which it's $5 a month if you're into that. But I make sure that there's no trolls in there being awful and that we can just freely talk in like a safe space, if you will, about games without people personally attacking each other. Like that's what I've loved so much about hockey is being able to laugh or be sad in a group. So I'm trying to bring that back. We've already got 100 plus people in the group chat. We're going on now, but subscribe. This is report.substack.com.
Well, I am a proud paying subscriber, happy to be there. And someone who I know signed up as well is our re-engaging in reading content and sharing stories because she just finished 32 frickin' NHL team previews like a boss. And in the meantime, continued to be crafty with her upcycling of sports related clothing. Check out her Twitter. It's not X, it's Twitter in my mind. The incredible Shayna Goldman. Shayna, say hi.
Hi.
You did subscribe to Sarah's Substack, right?
Yeah. And listen, we're so pumped for this because more Sarah content, the better. More Sarah running her shit, the better. Because we love,
Yeah.
as much as like we love like doing day-to-day stuff, right? And it's fun to be like parts of things. It's nice to run your own shit. It's very nice to have the fucking freedom to be like, I want to write this right now. This is on my mind. I'm doing it. I love that. At like you run your own schedule. The hockey schedule is so weird, especially like this week, and you're trying to like mangle your brain around it, and you can like do stuff when you're there and ready and present and feel like it, and you're not just writing to write. Like it's a very nice feeling.
It's awesome. And thanks everybody so much for the support because it's already allowed me to look into things like hurricane relief. And I want to just use the platform for good ultimately.
Amazing. Well, that is our biggest bit-o news, but it's time for the rest of that segment. Sarah, tell us what we're about to talk about.
Bit news too, electric boogaloo.
The drum is still in transit. We know. Shout out to Benny Drawbars. We appreciate you, and the drum will be back very soon. But let's get started here with some stuff that came out about last season before we get into a season that is 2 days old, not counting the European games. And that is are we calling it a mini series, a docu series? I don't know what we're calling it, but the series Face Off that showed up on Amazon Prime that documented, I guess, technically the playoffs, going all the way to the final. Have we all watched it?
Not yet.
Oh,
Oh,
I listen. I
folks,
have
this
been.
has been on the rundown and everything.
I know. I was very excited to watch it and start it, but then like playoff baseball has taken over my life when I'm not watching hockey, and it's like I want to have a time where I get to sit down and enjoy this, but I've been so stressed out over everything, and my superstitions are running wild right now. Like I can't change the routine.
I was salty that nobody sent me like a
I know,
preview.
what the fuck?
That's
We
why I
all should have
haven't
gotten it.
watched it. Like
Did you
me
just
and
say
my
we
spite.
both? What about me?
Well,
We
you
all
are a
should have
team
gotten it.
employee.
We all should have gotten
We
it.
all
Yeah,
should
you're
have
a team
them.
employee. You should have gotten it too. You should have it and be like waving it in our fucking faces.
Yes, yes, that's true.
Do team employees for the teams, I guess, that were in it have? No, well, they didn't
I
get
don't
the.
know. Well, they must
I
have
don't
because
know.
remember everyone was up, people we were hearing people were upset about stuff that was in it
Oh, yeah.
before. I I literally took notes on my thoughts. So can
Wait,
Please
we
can
let us
I will
know.
I'm gonna watch it this. I'm writing it down right now. Like
okay.
watch it and
Okay.
take notes. And I wrote in big letters, watch it. I'm gonna watch it, take notes, and I would like to have a full discussion about it because I know I'm gonna have thoughts. I'm
Okay.
gonna sit there with the pen and
I'm,
paper.
I think what's happened is it Nylander going, oh, hey, don't be a baby, eh? Like that's you know how people are like up in arms about this. I don't know.
I
Like, is it really good or is it like good for hockey?
no, it is excellent. I like
Okay,
churned through
fine.
it in two
Okay.
days. It's really, really good.
Okay.
Doesn't
So
the
Now get
Connor
into what
McDavid?
your thoughts are.
well, no, I'm not
Yeah,
going to share them until you guys we'll discuss it next
we'll
week. Can we
discuss it
commit
next
to
week.
Okay.
next week? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
All
because I
right.
saw
Yeah.
the
I'll do it this
preview.
weekend.
I saw that McDavid preview of him in the locker room, and
Why
I saw
are
people
people
make
freaking out about? I thought that was
they're like,
that's
his
exactly what I would
voice cracked.
expect.
Yeah. I saw people be like, oh, his voice was cracking. I was like, I would run through a wall for that man.
Yeah.
When he's
Hmm.
screaming, dig the fuck in. I'm sitting there and I was like this. I was like, oh my God, what's he gonna say? I'm like, let's go. I was
Hmm.
hyped. That that's Bestie Connor for you. He's really
Bestie
he's
Connor.
earned our respect. It's
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Well,
He's
we'll get to
waiting. He's been waiting, and here it is.
we'll get to that. All right. So we'll table that, friends and listeners. If you have thoughts on Face Off, send them to us via email or via social media, and we'll incorporate those next time. There are some signings to discuss, and they are all mostly of a goaltending nature. One of them we talked about last week as not having happened, but that Swayman finally signs in Boston 8 by 8.2. Allmark signs 4 years times 8.25 in Ottawa. Joey Decord signs 5 by 5. And hello, insiders. If you're really an insider, you spell a player's name correctly. I can't tell you how many DMs I had to send to people, quote unquote, breaking news saying there's no apostrophe in Decord, people. So
Are
let's
they
do it
francophone? Because
Where
that
did
means
that
okay.
apostrophe come from? Like I
because
saw it too, and I'm
The
like,
chord means
since when?
okay in French.
right, but it's not anyway, whatever. It's so insane. Like this is a great goalie who gets the first shutout ever in a Winter Classic and you can't even spell his name
Yeah.
correctly. Like,
Come on.
show some
Google it. Make
respect.
sure that it's not.
Literally. And then one goalie who didn't sign is Igor Shesterkin rejecting an $11 million deal. And even after last night's game, which we'll get to, says he's not going to talk about his contract publicly this season. So 4 goalies with news on contracts, 3 signs, 1 not. What was your reaction to this news? Sarah, I'm going to ask you to react on the Boston situation specifically first.
It reminds me of the song in SpongeBob when like it's like Gary and SpongeBob. Do you guys remember this? And they're like separated, but they're still together. That is Allmark and Swayman to me. It's like it's so funny to me that Swayman immediately set the market and Allmark days later signed the exact same AAV. And it really does check out like a shorter term deal with the same cost. It's like they have such comparable stats that in Swayman has like maybe the slight edge, especially in the playoffs. So it makes sense that he got a longer term deal, but they both got the same dollar amount. I don't know, it's adorable. They're hugging all the way to the bank. And why wouldn't and why shouldn't goalies make as much as players on the ice when they play more time on ice? They are the most important role. Like I don't get that. So good for Swayman for starting a new market.
Shayna, your reaction to the wave of money going in net. We often look at trends in hockey and locking up number ones or 1As, I guess is what we're officially calling them now, seems to be going on throughout the league.
See, I would separate them. I feel like it's you have your bona fide number one, and then you have your 1A, and it's like they're different money levels to me.
Hmm.
And for Swayman, that says you are a bona fide number one. And to Decord, it's like, well, you are a 1A right now. And he is because you still have Grubauer and they're going to split the net. And I like that there's going to be those tiers for those payments. It's just funny to me. Everyone's discourse on goaltenders is really funny to me because I feel like one, no one knows what they're talking about with goaltenders ever. But two, it's like the argument has been for a couple years like, oh, does a starting goalie deserve the same money as, a star player? Or do you need a true starting goalie? And we're seeing that with like certain teams winning, right? Like with Vegas, it's like, do you need an elite goalie to win? And everyone was like on that train for a minute. And then Bobrovsky wins at $10 million. And everyone's like, see, it's okay. And it's like, that's the one that you're gonna like pin your hopes on, especially like it was 2024. Bob was not 2023 playoff Bob. Like there's a difference. So all of that's like been like swirling in my brain because I feel like there's these weird conversations. It's like it changes so quickly and people forget what they said literally a year ago. And in this case, it's like certain teams need a bona fide number one and certain teams can pay that bona fide number one. So while we think of the Bruins as like the big bad Bruins and they're so great defensively, they need good goaltending and they've gotten elite goaltending the last couple of years. You're the Rangers, you have Shesterkin. You're nowhere without your goaltender. So if the man wants 11 million or 12 million, go off. But like I have more thoughts on that one. Like, I don't know how, do you want me to go my full conspiracy theorist on that one?
Well, we're going to do a little bit more on goalies next week. We've
Good.
talked about
Okay, good.
so we'll hold the conspiracy theory for now. That can be your rant. We do have to have a rant of the week. I feel like it's
I have
coming.
one.
Okay, well just note it, and we'll have that next week.
Yeah.
All right, one more signing that we want to discuss. Bestie of the pod, obviously. Carter Verhaeghe signs 8 years times 7 million. Florida locking in another core piece of the puzzle, even with some transition on their roster after the Stanley Cup winning team goes down and accomplishes their first championship last year. Sara, your reaction to Verhaeghe staying a Panther for quite some time?
Yeah, that's pretty incredible with the cap rising. I think that's a good deal. And it just goes back to Matthew Tkachuk's point and what the Bruins used to be of like all the hometown deals you take. I mean, Reinhardt was a pretty good deal too. But I mean, Verhage, he's pretty young and he's the clutch factor. Like, how do you quantify that? Sometimes that gets overpaid. And I think they did a good job of not overpaying that.
Shayna, anything to add on? I know one of your faves.
I love Carter Verhaeghe. That's my guy. I don't love the contract.
Ooh, is it too
Dang,
much?
spicy.
Okay, I think that when you're a contending team, I looked at this shit this summer and was going through how many teams have those big contracts that win. And unfortunately, like data limitations stopped me from like going as deep as I really wanted to go on this. I think that you can win a cup with a lot of money tied up in a few guys. And in Florida, it's obviously Barkov, Kachuk, Bob, and then I think you could say Forsling as the number one D or Ekblad. You can take your pick there. I don't think either contract's like Forsling's, reasonable price, and Ekblad I don't think is going to be crazy high if they extend him. But I look at it with Verhaeghe and I go, is that the core piece or is that the elite complementary talent you need? Do you pay that? If you're going to, maybe they can keep making it work and just have really, really, really cheap guys around him, right? And like the Lindell contract, I think is going to age great. And if you cut, guys like Bennett over the years and you keep rotating out those really cheap defensemen, you can balance out the books. But I look at it and I go, there should be a separation between those core contracts and those supporting player contracts. And I just wonder if this one is a little bit too long. And in those later years, like, will they have a problem because they invested so much in so few players? Like, I just feel like that could be the one that we look at in a few years and we're like, was that the move? And I love him. It's crazy. I feel like coming from me, but I just don't know if that's the one I would have given 8 years to.
Oh, that's a great point, especially when you look at what teams have been able to do, like even a Barry Trotz at the trade deadline or something like that. And you're like, you get a Carter Verhaeghe at the trade deadline.
Absolutely. All right. Moving on to people already paid. We had some news out of the West Conference. First and foremost, and this is going to be, I don't know how many of these we'll do. I don't think this is going to end up being a segment, but the Utah Yeti, they're a club, they're a team. They played a game, they won. They had their first win. They drank a lot of beer, apparently, the most beer ever at an event in the arena. Shayna, there were lots of narratives about that arena. I was all about the beer narrative. What narrative are you ready to see stop coming out
Yeah,
of Salt
I
Lake
love
City?
I love the beer narrative. I had a long talk about the beer narrative actually. with one of my friends who's a flight attendant and like was in Utah and was trying to explain this to me. Like, I think it's you can drink beer, but it's like a certain percentage, like they're lower percentage beers.
Correct.
And if you want true percentage beers and like your standard, you have to, it's like your beer license and liquor license are different than how they're thought of in most places, I think it is. Because people are like, they won't have beer. Like, no, I think it's you need a full liquor license to have regular percentage beer. I think that's how it works there. 'Cause I've been trying to find out the important questions. But no, here's my rant of the week. Is it the one and only? I don't know. I don't want to hear shit about the arena. I don't want to hear shit about the obstructed views. Everyone's like, why didn't they have a plan in place? Because the Arizona fucking Coyotes don't allow you to have a plan when they're so poorly managed for so long and they screwed up everything. The Utah was not supposed to get a team when they did. Arizona was supposed to be there for longer and everything happened on the fly. And people go, yeah, but wouldn't you anticipate Arizona screwing it up? Of course you do. But when you're bragging that you're going to have this whole arena plan and they're giving out false messaging, what are you going to do? So obviously, the arena is not going to be perfect. They have a plan. Generally speaking, when you expand or relocate, you would have an arena plan, say, in 2 years, as the process takes place, because this is not something you snap your fingers and it happens. It had to here. You would have had the time to start upgrading the arena. So obviously, things aren't going to be perfect there, but I think they're trying to balance it out and make it work. And it's not that big of a deal if you miss a little bit of the seating, especially if you're warned. And now I got a response too. Someone was like, "Oh, I'm sure you had, you know, you were talking shit about Barclays." Like Barclays is a different situation because they wanted to upgrade the Coliseum and the town fucked it up. It went to a vote, didn't pass, and they went to Barclays. My issue with Barclays isn't the obstructed views; it's that the NHL allowed something with PVC piping and did not go through what they were supposed to. Like that was an avoidable thing. This wasn't. This was desperate situation. My God. And this is what they had to do. So please understand it's different. It is not the same. Okay. Nobody planned this ahead of time. And it's probably why they don't have names and branding because sure, they had until October to have it, but you really didn't because the league needed that to be prepared, I'm sure months ago, to have all the signage done and have everything the way it should have been. So, like, please stop. Please look into business for like 4.2 seconds before you have a fucking opinion.
And the way that people have opinions at you when
Yeah.
they could Google it, see that there's a difference between these two situations
Yep.
and not waste your eyeballs and your precious time on this earth reading that response. Like the whataboutism is getting worse and worse every day on the Twitter app. It's like things that are objectively false that you could look up and see, oh, you know what? Just learned that this is false. I don't need to waste this person's time. Like it's not on us to prove something that isn't true, like the burden of proof. That's my point number one, responding to you. Point number two is if the Coyotes ownership has zero haters, we have died, we have come back to life, and we have died again.
I have nothing to add to that. Tremendous rant. Good job.
Thank you.
Let's move on to happier news. In apparently something that, in my opinion, I, I don't get why people get all worked up about whether or not a team has someone with a certain letter on their jersey. Maybe it's because I've covered teams that can be very effective without them, but hey, congratulations, hockey. All 32 clubs now actually have a captain. The Seattle Kraken named Jordan Eberle their second ever captain in franchise history before their first game of the season on Tuesday. Huzzah, yay. He's got the C. Maddie Beniers also is going to be wearing an A for the first time. Sara, your thoughts?
Congratulations to them both. I hope they have a wonderful time and enjoy the leadership. I like the A for Beniers. It's like, let's invest in you and show you we view you as part of the leadership and you invest in us back and have a good season.
Shayna, are we overrating the importance of whether or not you have a captain for a team?
I mean, it helps, figure out some shit while you're on the ice, right? Like there's a penalty called and someone's like, who's going up? I remember like when the Rangers had like four alternate captains and they were alternating like which nights they were captains to. And it's like, who can go up for that? I like that you have a clear answer. Who's going to bitch at the refs? It's Jordan Eberle every night. But you know what? I couldn't, I honestly don't care. I'm sure it's meaningful for the player. And I think that's great and wonderful because like go off. And, maybe it can change the vibe in a locker room. I'm just happy for Eberle, though, personally. You think of where his career started and what a shit show Edmonton was and how much he's thrived since then and like just been appreciated everywhere else. And it's like, you've earned this. We don't deserve things, we
Yes,
earn them.
I will say it can be more of a correlation than causation, but there can be a sign of dysfunction when you have two captains or no captains or whatever. But it's like the team doesn't deserve a captain, so you're not naming one. Like, but that's more correlation. Sometimes necessarily that's not true.
for sure. And I agree. And it was interesting. Jordan Eberle told us this is the first time ever in his playing career he's worn a C. So that was pretty cool for him. But with all due respect, congratulations to Jordan Eberle. The coolest moment of the Seattle Kraken game was when they did the team announcements. And for the first time in NHL history, a woman was introduced as a full-time assistant coach behind the bench, Jessica Campbell, taking her spot rightly next to head coach Dan Bylsma. I'm not going to lie, it was an emotional moment for me. I talked to quite a few people who were in the building and even not, and just sharing what it meant to them. I have thoughts, but first, Shayna and Sara, she's been there for preseason. She did have a preseason game last year as well, but thoughts on just this moment being one of many as women start to make more and more of a mark in the game.
I mean, I love it. It was amazing. My favorite like moment from, a TV viewer of it was just the play that they're drawing up plays in the third period. And it was just normal, which is what you want to see. Here it is, the assistant coach. And I love all the interviews. I think from Bylsma, they were like, why did you pick her? She was the best person for the job. He knew it. Like all of that. I think that's great and wonderful. So I think it's good we're appreciating the buzz of it because this is a moment that deserves more than just buzz. And we're going to be talking about it, but I can't wait till this is just the norm, which it already is for her because she has this coaching experience and did it with Coachella. And here she is at the NHL level, just continuing her work, right? It's fantastic. It's great. And hopefully everyone can just shut up with the diversity hires or the book talk stuff I saw starting to turn back up. Nobody needs
One of the
that.
many delightful responses I got was that it wasn't a DEI hire, it was an EDI hire. So we're really working with multiple functioning brain cells here, folks.
What's EDI?
Well, they didn't know it was DEI.
Oh, I thought they were trying to like, oh, hi Rangoon. I thought they were trying to like own her even more in like their little brains, but they own themselves. Again,
What did you think of the moment, Sarah? What have been your
yeah,
thoughts?
Shayna nailed it with that third period play drawing. Like the normalcy of that brought a tear to my eye. Just that's just what's happening, and that's what's going to keep happening, no matter if people are screaming or not. Like that's the case, and that's what's happening. And just the respect the players obviously they have for her, and they always like she has. We don't have to go over her accolades every single time, but she has been a skating coach and a skills coach to so many premier players in the NHL already. And I just loved that one TikTok. Have you seen the British or Australian, sorry, like there's an accent, woman who has decided to be a Kraken fan on
No,
TikTok?
no.
Somebody came at her and was
Oh,
yeah,
I think I know what you're talking about.
yeah, someone came at her and was like said something about Jessica, and then she responded about all of her accolades, like, "Oh, I wish it was a guy who did this and this." Oh, wait, that's Jessica Campbell. Mic drop. Like, we really have to do two times more to be considered half the time, and just the visualization of it being normal means so much.
Yeah, I was lucky enough. It was a national game, so I got to write that day, and I got to write about her
You
day
killed it.
and meet her family, and it's actually a story I'm really proud of. That's one that
Awesome.
I'll remember. But yeah, it was. I will say, like, if all of the very angry men online put as much time investigating when men abuse children or women as they put into investigating and challenging, to your point, Sarah,
Mhm.
Jessica's qualifications, my goodness gracious, what a better world we have. And so you're telling on yourselves because I don't see you demanding qualifications of every single person who's hired as a coach in this league. And also, you don't put energy into investigating things that actually matter. So congrats to you. You're all mouth breathers and you suck.
Mhm.
But it was a very, very, very cool moment. And I'm excited to see Jess continue to thrive and be her very best self. Speaking of thriving and talking about the games, let's move into our hockey talk. What?
We're
What?
missing a
What?
segment. We're missing a segment. This is important. I have a thought, and I need this segment to happen.
Shitless or Leafs or both?
Leafs. I need my Leafs.
Okay.
All
Shayna,
right,
tell
I
us,
Shayna.
have the passion.
how does this affect the Leafs?
Okay. This is rant number 2. I feel that the NHL season should always kick off with the Maple Leafs game. And I feel like we need that because I feel like we got a soft launch on Tuesday into the NHL season, and the vibes were not right until the Leafs played, and we got the chaos that we deserved with the Toronto Maple Leafs, who I love very dearly. That's my team. But I have complaints about the vibes of broadcast, and I felt like they brought the energy that I needed and the chaos online that I needed of everyone like overreacting to them losing, and just everything was perfect about it. Dear NHL, please, every year, start the fucking season with the Maple Leafs. I beg of you, because the vibes are off, and I'm already reeling from the vibes being terrible of the MLB playoffs. I don't know if anyone has seen the complaints about the terrible vibes of the games, and I'm not even enjoying the Yankee series because I feel like I'm listening to Bob Costas read a story to a first grade class every night instead
Seriously.
of talking about the game. Please, hockey, don't do this to me. Just start with the Maple Leafs. I feel like we need to get the season off to a bang.
That's such
That's
a
that's
good
my rant.
point. That's such a good point, Shayna. I'm glad you shared your rant.
I mean, Toronto is the center of the hockey universe, so what were we thinking?
And
Thank
guess
you.
what? Don't say we hate the Leafs. We want them on the air in our faces. First things first.
I
Losing
need the Leafs.
1-0 to the Rubs.
Which takes us into hockey talk. And I guess I know which game we're going to start with, which is not going to be chronological order. I thought we'd do a fun, different game. I thought that what we'll do is, everyone to Shayna's rant has a reaction to the very first game of the season. So I figured we'll go through the games and we'll talk about the losing team. And our game is it too early to be concerned about that team? Or is it too early to not worry? Are we down with this? This was my
Yes.
brainstorm. Okay, cool. All right. So, friends, as aforementioned, Sam Montembeault puts on a tremendous performance last night and shuts out the Leafs for the first time in, what is it, 252 days that since the Leafs have been shut out, they lose 1-0 to the Canadiens, a game I am sure that most Leafs fans were pretty damn confident that they were going to win. So, Sara, I ask you, if you're a Leafs fans, is it too early to be concerned or too early to not be worried?
Too early to not be worried. Yes, I would not be worried. I think this is actually a reversal of the curse because they put in the work, they score so much, and then they have the same fate every year. So it's like they need a kick in the ass. They need to not be so consistently good. They need to figure out what it is that's wrong with them and take it seriously. So maybe the Canadians have done that for them.
Shayna, do you agree?
Yeah, I think the Leafs need to dig the fuck in, and I think day one is the perfect time to test them. Do you know what I love though? There was so much discourse about the goaltending, and people are like talking about like, oh my God, Wool's hurt already, and it's like, all right, well at least they're not running him to the ground day one. They're gonna let him get healthy, and that's why they have a very good 1B. But I saw a tweet, and I can't remember who it's by. It was like, I'm worried about Montreal's goaltending, and it was like, and I think they were from Toronto. I'm like, you sure about that? Because anybody that watched Montreal last year knew the second they ended that 3 goalie system that everyone was fine. And you need to put some goddamn respect on Sam Montembeaud's name because he
Seriously,
handles
he's
chaos.
awesome.
Yeah, he handles the chaos well. So a nice little lesson to stop talking shit, especially when you don't live in when you live in a glass house.
All right, we will now return to chronological order after we have set the too many men proper chronological order by starting with the Leafs. But let's take it all the way back to the Buffalo Sabres, who actually lose 2 games to the Devils over in Prague, a beautiful city, one of my favorites. But Shayna, we'll start with you. Is it too early to be concerned if you're a Sabres fan, or is it too early to not be worried?
It's too early to not be worried. They're very lucky that Paterka is going to be okay because that was the immediate like red flag because he was so good for them last year. Like the picture of consistency while everyone else was bad. I feel like it's hard not to like drown in it already. Like, oh, this is how we're starting the season. But it's like I would just give them a little time and see what happens. Like, don't worry yet, but don't not worry yet.
Very good. All right, Sarah, you are going to get the next game, and that is the Seattle Kraken falling to the St. Louis Blues 2-3 in the very first game in North America to start the season. Because what better plan is there than to have a game on a Tuesday at 1:30 a Pacific time in the West Coast? Sure, whatever. But should Kraken fans not be worried, or should they be worrying already?
No, don't worry at all. Like one of the Kraken's biggest concerns has been kind of slower starts and getting things initiated on offense. So the fact that they did that, and then that second period was just quintessential first hockey game of the season where two quick goals come in. Like I'd rather see that than some lopsided. I mean, maybe I'm like galaxy branding this into the sun. Like I don't want to see a loss and every game matters, but I want to see that loss if I'm seeing one. Like that is a good start. Didn't let things completely spiral after that. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, for sure. Then systems wise, I mean, the team looked really good and they're
Yeah.
learning a whole new system with a new coaching staff, as we talked about. So yeah, I totally agree. Moving on, and if you aren't the first speaker, if you want to chime in, feel free. I'm just bouncing us back and forth. All right, Shayna, Boston Bruins, pre getting Swayman in net, although he was signed, fall 4-6 to the defending champion Florida Panthers. Bruins fans, too early to be worried or too early to not be worried? Boston fans, Shayna.
It's too early to be worried. All right. Like if Swayman wasn't signed right now, be fucking worried. You don't. I'm not putting the loss fully on Korpisalo either. It was a chaotic game. It was the one game that like brought the energy, I felt like, on that first day that I'm like, this is what you like. It was so exciting. You wanted to watch it till the end just to see what was gonna happen. And like they made a push at the end that you're like, okay, there's some life there. I'm not, I would say don't be worried yet. You're Boston, you'll probably be fine. You have a very good goaltender now who's worth that 8.25 million. Okay. You didn't want to be a what was it, a $64 million goalie, but he's a $66 million goalie. Go off, Jeremy.
Sarah, you agree?
Yeah, let's see what Swayman does. I'm a little worried. I think
Hmm.
it shows the importance of signing Swayman, obviously, and it's not necessarily Korpisalo's fault, but is it ever? And he usually ends up doing something like this. So I don't know. Let's see how Swayman does. Cautiously, we're going to be fine.
Excellent. The final game of the first official day of hockey in North America was the Utah Yeti, as we discussed, getting their first win in their first ever regular season game, 5-2 over the lowly Chicago Blackhawks. The Blackhawks didn't come into the season presenting themselves as a contender yet. Shayna, with that context, if you're a Blackhawks fan, is it too early to not be worried or too early to be worried?
Too early to be worried. You know what you're getting this year. Bedard looked good, and that's nice. And there's a little bit of
That's
potential once
nice.
that's nice. This is what we want to see. There is a story, I think Mark Lazar shared, and he was saying, like, he's not the rookie, he's not like the phenom that everyone's like paying attention to. He's just your NHL superstar now. And I really like that because to me, you watch him and you're like, all right, sick. Like there's he's so comfortable, I feel like, at this level already. And he's just gonna keep getting better. And now hopefully has a full healthy season. But I don't think you watch that game and you go, yeah, we thought this was gonna go any different, unless you are underestimating my Utah Hockey Club, which don't you fucking dare. If anyone's going to shit on the state of Utah and make fun of them, it's going to be me. But I'm going to bring it right back by talking about how much I love this team. If you didn't think they were going to be good, maybe you should be worried about your brain.
Oh, interesting challenge. All right, then we move on to yesterday, Wednesday, which I actually want to say, and it was a rare instance of actually really good scheduling. It was pretty
Yep.
easy to keep up with
Yeah.
all the games. Unfortunately, that goes completely down the shitter tonight and going forward, but here we are. Let's enjoy it while we had it. Starting the day off, we talked about Toronto and Montreal. Then we move on to, folks, this was a rough, this was this was literally hard to watch for me. I'm telegraphing what my answer would be, but the Rangers shut out the Penguins at home to booze 6-0. Sarah, Penguins fans, not in the playoffs last year. Crosby's still there. Is it too early to be worried or too early not to be worried if you live and cheer for the teams of the Steel City?
Yeah, this was the easiest hockey game I've ever watched in my life personally because I bet on a Shesterkin shutout and the under. So thank you, Penguins, for being predictable. Yes, you should be worried about the Pittsburgh Penguins this year. They had the worst in my eyes, now I don't know if the stat said this, the worst power play I've ever seen in my life last year. And they lost the guy that scores the points on it. I don't know where you're expecting to go on this. Hopefully you get the Carlson contract off the books and you start rebuilding. I mean, I just, I worry more that you're not going to start the rebuild because just seeing how the last 2 years have gone, it's like, as a fan of teams, I hate watching that scenario more than anything.
It was a mess.
I
Like
felt like the
Pittsburgh
first,
players were running into each other. Like
yeah,
systematically, they were a mess.
I felt like they had like the first couple minutes, you watched some of the saves Shesterkin had to make, and you're like, oh, that's why you're worth every penny. Like,
Yep.
all right, bet. But like as it went on, it's like, did it just take the wind out of the Penguins? I was thrilled, honestly. I didn't have to pay as much attention to that because
Yeah.
there were two baseball games on, and they were like that was the focus yesterday. Thank you. It was a New York tribute. They were like, watch the Yankees, watch the Mets. Be stressed over that because I have to like hide my eyes when I'm watching every pitch, and I'm like peeking through that like I couldn't even see the other screens. I'm just watching the Yankee game. Like, please don't disappoint me. So thank you, Penguins.
And
Yeah.
thank you, Shesterkin. Hello.
There we
Yeah,
go. There we go. That's game set a trend after the 1-0 shutout because all of these games were like 10,000 goals and chaotic. Um, Folks, we're so back. The Winnipeg Jets, just as everyone suspected, shut out the Edmonton Oilers also by a score of 6-0, a game involving a goalie change and everything. Multiple people had the Oilers picked as their Stanley Cup favorite, and I'm sure Oilers fans are taking this completely rationally and logically. Shayna, Oilers fans, too early to be worried or too early not to be worried?
too early not to be worried, honestly. But here's where like the silver lining is. If you go back to last year, we saw this start. We saw this, sink down the standings, and everyone was like, that's my Stanley Cup pick. And you look what happened. Maybe they need more dramatic of a turnaround this year. So they have to sink a little lower first. But it is kind of funny because like there were a couple preseason games and I saw like some overreactions already. Like, they had it like they had like I think McDavid and Draisaitl on the lineup and they still lost to the Flames who were playing like nobodies and people were like, oh, it doesn't look good. And then it was against Vancouver. Like, do I think they'll be fine? Yes, absolutely. Do I think Stuart Skinner's gonna be fine, but everyone just wants to like overreact to it? Yes.
Do you really, though? I'm being serious.
No, honestly, I think he's going to be fine. I feel like he had a horrible start last year, and I thought he rebounded pretty well, and he was getting better as the year went on, and he was pretty solid in the playoffs too. Like, I'm not so worried about that, especially because like the team does look better in front of like that's the best. I think this year's Oilers team is the best team they've trotted out in a while, and I thought that last year, and I think they made enough improvements. But like, do you want the drama this year? Do you need it? Can you
Yes.
avoid it? Can you stop the bleeding a little bit sooner? Like, I feel like you don't need this. Maybe just start cruising through it. But hey, nothing's easy in this league. Am I right?
Sara, I feel like we all need to weigh in on this one. Your thoughts on Oiler Nation after they were hellebucked?
Yeah, I mean, you saw what happened last year. They had off to a really poor start and they just ended up figuring it out along the way. And it's like, if you're going to let up these games and have these like terrible outcomes, you want to do it as soon as possible so you can figure out, all right, we're miles ahead of you guys, like with your slump middle of the season. We know what we need to do and act on it or whatever. Like if the goalie is gonna be bad, you want to find that out as soon as possible so you can make arrangements. So I'm
Arrangements.
not worried. I think
Like it's
it's
a
just like,
funeral.
yeah, I'm not worried.
All right, let's move on to one that was probably the most dramatic of the games yesterday. And this one took overtime, our first overtime game of the season, ended by young Connor Zary in overtime. Calgary Flames come back from it was a 4-1 deficit to take a 6-5 victory over a Thatcher Demkolis Vancouver Canucks. Sara, Canucks fans who also have designs on being better and pushing farther into the postseason this year against the Oilers. For Canucks fans who are terminally worried, is it too early to be worried or is it too early to not be worried?
Now, this was the most worrisome event of the day. And of course, the Canucks are already Canucksing at unprecedented levels. This is exactly what you're afraid of, right? Without Demko, that, oh, wait, we need the perennial Vezina finalist, and he's arguably the biggest part of our roster. Like, just the way it played out, they're up 4-1, they go into overtime, they lose in overtime. It's like that's the quintessential what you don't want to happen when you're wondering if you're going to be okay without your star goalie. So that's terrible, and I'm worried.
Yeah, talk about being complacent after an unbelievable 20 minutes. Like that, the first 20 minutes of the game, their rush game looked so good. It
Yep.
was everything that you
Yep.
thought, like, okay, this is the off-season strategy. This is where we're going to get better. And it was like, it's clicking. We're all going, is JT Miller and Brock Besser going to be able to repeat what they did last year?
Daniel
Is it
Sprong scores a
sustainable?
goal. Yeah.
They did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looked amazing. And you're like, holy shit. The Canucks are just saying, fuck you. Like we're back and we're much better. Everyone doubted us last year. And look, we're going to build off that. Oh my God, what a collapse to a team you wouldn't have expected it from. I'm good on the Flames, but it's like the biggest reminder. If you goaltending is important in this league, and if you don't have that great goaltending, you cannot be complacent.
It was interesting to be sure. I'm sure that, again, that Vancouver is reacting completely normal about all of that. And then one that honestly surprised me until I realized and remembered what's going on with the Avalanche's lineup right now and their cap situation is the Avs travel to Vegas. And again, talk about just like offense upon offense upon offense. Maybe we are underestimating the lack of defense that we should be talking about with some of these teams. But the Avs fall 4-8 to the Golden Knights. I'd be concerned if I was an Avs fan. Sara, what say you?
Yeah, that's just an absolutely wild amount of goals and points to put up against your team in general. That makes me worried no matter what the context. But then you waste a Rantanen hat trick. You got little to no life there. Like they ran out of juice so fast. I just don't. That was not great, especially with the question marks with like two of their star players out, blah, blah, blah. Like there's nowhere to go with the roster construct, really, right? Like you get what you get with the Avs this year, and you do not want to see that when there's little wiggle room.
Shayna, a lot of youth stepping in with those injuries to, if you add in Landeskog too, three big players out of the Avs roster. Is it good that they're getting some youth in there, or are you concerned as well for the Avs?
I don't think it's a bad thing to like get that experience in. I think Jared Bednar is a fantastic coach, and we've seen it before where the Avs are like locked in a playoff spot, and he's like, "Let me experiment and see what my options are." So I think this is a good time for him to do it. And I think that reinforcements are on the way, right? Like you're getting Lehkonen back in November, and that's going to be huge because we all look at Colorado and go, "What about the supporting cast like behind that star power?" And they really built it up, but it's just a little bit hurt right now. So I think that the fact that the help is on the way is like your saving grace, but it's how can we get so much better without them that once they come back, we're going to be, a huge step forward. I don't know. That's where I wasn't super worried, but the response goals from Vegas, I was impressed by, especially because like I look at Vegas and I'm like, this is now the weakest version of Vegas that we've seen yet. And you look at how that winger, like those wingers, yikes. But hey, if they're
Yikes, but hey, the too many men analysis.
like if you're gonna do something, you're like, okay, all right. Like you have guys like Doriev who's gonna step up and Olofsson go off, and Mark Stone looked sharp, which I think if that's your biggest win, right? If you're
Yeah.
Vegas, you look at it and you're like, because in the playoffs he could not move, and you had to be like, is he just not healthy enough to play? Is this the player we have moving forward? If he can come in with some juice in the beginning of the year, I would be thrilled if I'm Vegas. Like, okay, a healthy Mark Stone is one we can count on.
For sure.
Wow, that was like a car commercial.
That's me.
Healthy Mark Stone. We can count on him. 2 goal Stone.
All right. Well,
Hire me for your PR.
again, by the time we talk to you all next, every team will have at least a few games under their belt, but some teams are still yet to make their season premiere. Just quickly around our little group, Sara, what team that hasn't played yet are you most excited to see play over the coming days for the first time in the regular season?
Ooh. I guess the Hurricanes, because I am curious about Seth Jarvis. I think he's one of the most fun players to watch in the league, and he just got paid. And there is some pressure when everybody shows up to camp with pictures of yourself and a bag of cash on their shirt. I want Kochetkov to go off. Like, no offense, Freddie Anderson. I've kind of seen enough. I've seen enough. And you're not the guy to bring everybody to the final. But I kind of think we're being dramatic about them regressing. So I'm excited to see them play.
Shayna, which team are you excited to see?
I'm torn on this one, but I'm gonna go Nashville. I was like, but
Ooh,
first I'm
that's a
like,
good
ooh,
one. That's a good
Tampa,
one.
that'll be fun. But I'm like, no, Nashville. That's where the spice is because there's so many different faces. It's always interesting to see how a team like can react to that and like blend new names into a lineup. And here it is. There's three huge ones, right? You have Shea, Marchessault, and Stamkos. It's the biggest wake up call of like, oh, these guys are in a New Jersey, like because it's so dramatic. But I'm really excited because I think we've all been hyping up Barry Trotz and rightfully so. And the Predators set our expectations high with their streak down the stretch because it wasn't like a lucky stretch. They were legitimately like a top three team offensively and defensively at 5-on-5. Like they were killing it. So you're like, with reinforcements, if you can build off that, that could be that wild card team you didn't see like becoming a true contender again. So I'm really curious how their season's gonna go, and I'm very curious like what adjustment period they need.
And for me, it's Dallas, of course, the team of my heart. Just because I continue to be impressed with their roster construction, and now we have the next wave like Stankoven. I want to see what he's going to be all about. I want to see how this team adapts to maybe not the greatest off season in terms of every other team. And so, and I
Oh, you
just
don't like Ilya Labushkin on your third pair?
leave me alone.
Stop, I'm triggered.
I can't.
But that's my pick is the Stars of Dallas. All right. That is our quick tour around the hockey that is actually happening. As is tradition, we end every episode with our favorite game, Fuck, Marry, Kill. Even though it's Steven's least favorite game. And happy birthday, Steven, today, by the way. Here we go. As we always do, Sara, you are going to go first. You are going to fuck, marry, kill what we have delightfully coined as old guy storylines. And here they are. Fuck, marry, kill this season. Marc-Andre Fleury's farewell tour, this being his final season. Sidney Crosby's shot at the cup. And Alex Ovechkin's chase for the scoring record.
I'm marrying Ovechkin's chase for the scoring record because I do think that's going to be the most exciting thing to watch. He's has 18 seasons with 30 plus goals, and I want to see he slowed down last year, right? So there's a little bit of drama there. I don't know. I think he's going to get it in 2 years, but like 5 years ago, we would have said he got it in 1 year. So let's see. Um, I'm going to fuck. Unfortunately, I don't know. It's like the last time you're seeing an ex and you meet up, and that would be Marc-Andre Fleury's farewell tour. Like it's bittersweet, right? And we know it's just going to be good though. And I'm going to kill the Sidney Crosby's. I just think it's sad. But it's his own fault because he's staying loyal to the Penguins and he's already done more than enough, you know? So it's his call what he wants to do, but leave me out of it.
Shayna?
I'm gonna actually marry Sidney Crosby.
Ooh.
I loved watching his season last year. I got to write about him last year for I think the first time ever. And it was so fun for me to just have time to really like I had a month to just dig into like all of the tape from the season and just watch how unbelievable he still is. And it's the subtle things and the flashy things with or without Gensel he's doing them. I absolutely love watching him. I want to see what he can do because he put up an MVP caliber season. Like I think I had him fifth for the Hart last year, and it was only because the race was so deep at the top he didn't get the hype he deserved. And to do it at his age, incredible. So I want to see more of that. I will fuck the Ovechkin goal race. I'm excited to see it. I hope I'm not let down like I was at the beginning of last year. I'm very curious if he'll be willing to accept passes from anyone that's not John Carlson on the power play because some lateral passing would really make the difference for him, man. Like, come on. So I'm excited to see it because it is exciting, especially in today's game to see someone put up those numbers. I'm gonna kill the Fleury farewell tour. It is nothing against Fleury. I'm worried he's going to go out on a low because of the three
Ooh.
goalie system in Minnesota, which is not how I want things to happen for him. And like last season was pretty tough for him as well. So I hope things get better, but I don't know. I don't want to see him sad, and I feel like that's what he's going to be this year. So I have to kill it.
Well, interestingly, I'm going to marry the Marc-Andre Fleury farewell tour. I just love him and I love his vibe. And I think that even if he doesn't play as much or if the team isn't as good, because who's to say with the Wild any given year, I just think he's a delight, and I think everyone adores him so much that like the celebration around it, the pomp and circumstance around it is just going to be fun and positive and good. I'm going to kill Sidney Crosby because look, I know not every game, I hope not every game is going to be like last night, but that was, like I said, that was hard to watch, and he deserves better, in my opinion. And so therefore, by default, I will marry the Ovechkin chase. Um, I'm with Sara, like he is slowing down, but also like I'm worried about, I know they're trying now, but the cast they've put around him still, I don't know if that's good enough to help him get to where he wants to be in terms of the
Yeah,
all-time scoring record.
for real.
All right, my friends, that'll do it for us this episode. We so appreciate you listening and connecting with us. Don't forget that you can connect with us on social. We are at 2_much_man on both Instagram and on Twitter. We would love to hear from you there. We would love to hear what you think about the Face Off series. We would also like to remind you that if you have questions about getting into this industry or staying in this industry, we're going to be doing a special episode on that coming up. So tell us what topics you want us to discuss. This is a one-time offer only. But let us know if all you want to do is be like the cool kids and wear some Too Many Men merch or carry some Too Many Men merch. We've got it for you. Go to toomanymenmerch.com and get everything that you need. I'm sure we'll come up with some new creative lines this season. We might even need a rant session set of stuff coming up, Shayna, based on this trend that you're developing. But
I'm
until
developing, you're starting, I'm
I
following.
know, I know, I know. It is my fault. But until then, my friends, we ask you that no matter where you are, no matter what time it is, no matter what you're doing, that you do something big or small to make sure that hockey truly is for everyone. We will talk to you soon.
Love you.
Bye.